Hello, and welcome to the Classic Land Cruisers podcast. I'm Dan, your host. You can find me on Instagram at FJ40_UMA_Smurf or on I Hate Mud at Mountain Biker. You can find the podcast on Instagram by searching Classic Land Cruisers. Remember to go to reefmonkey.com to get your Classic Land Cruiser podcast merch. Bring your adventure home with inlowgear.com, your source for custom Land Cruiser apparel and merchandise, where adventure becomes art, designed for the road. This episode was brought to you in part by Redline Land Cruisers, Save Your F, by Manafree, your one-stop shop for Land Cruiser parts and service, by Valley Hybrids and Terrain Tamer North America. All right. Welcome to this episode of the Classic Land Cruisers podcast. With me today is Chad from Overland Cruiser on Instagram. I kept seeing his Overland built 80 series and wanted to know more about it, so I reached out to him. So Chad, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit more and how you got into that 80 series?
All right. Yeah, so my name's Chad Payment. Like you said, I run the Overland Cruiser. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. We're all over all the platforms. But I kind of got into it because I came across a Facebook post on Marketplace of an old 1991 Toyota Land Cruiser with, the 3FE in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, me not knowing anything about them, just wanting a Land Cruiser, I picked it up for a really good deal from a guy that lives out in Dubai, actually.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it was really good condition, low miles. I mean, it was less than 200,000 miles, and it was like $6,000 or whatever. So I picked it up, drove it home, and then once I put 37-inch tires on it, a 4-inch lift, and kind of loaded it out a little bit, I realized that the 3FE didn't have too much oomph behind it. So I was living in Washington State at the time, and then I found a 1995 on Facebook Marketplace that has the 1FC, and they have a little bit more horsepower, 80 more horsepower, and triple locked one, and it was good condition as well. So, but I was living in Washington State, and this one was in Oregon, and we were driving to the airport, not the airport, sorry, we were driving to Seattle to go look at some wedding stuff because we were getting married around that time, and we were kind of heading towards Seattle, and then this guy messaged me back. I lowballed him like crazy, and he accepted the offer. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to go out and get it now. But the issue is I'm not going to drive down there because the drive was like 6 to 8 hours or something like that. And I had work the next morning, and it was already late in the afternoon, So I told him, and he's like, I'll pay for your flight. I'll fly you out here. I was like, all right. So I flew out, bought it sight unseen, and drove it all the way back through the night. And that one I had for quite a while. It was in 1995. It was good, but the gas mileage was poor, which is typical with these Land Cruisers, but I always had my eyes set on a diesel one. So I was living out in Bremerton, Washington at the time. And another one, Facebook Marketplace, taking lots of money from me. But there was one that was at a shop near me because the motor was blowing on it. It had rod knock. And it's a right-hand drive one, which is the one I have now. It's a 1992, and it's diesel with an automatic transmission in it. So he had it listed for like $18,000, and then the motor had issues on it, so it was at a shop, and he dropped it to like $12,000. And And so I was like, you know what? This thing's 5 minutes away from my house. I'm going to go check it out. I mean, it might be a good price or whatever. So I looked at it and I lowballed him at 7,000 and he took it. So, I bought that one and, fixed it up, and that's the one I've been driving ever since. So,
Yeah. So did you keep the other two cruisers, or did you sell those off?
no. So the first one I bought, I got for 6,000 and I ended up selling that one for 13,500 out there to a buddy. Yeah. And then, so he drove that one, while I had my other two for a bit. And then I had the 1995. So pretty much how it went was I had the 91 and I bought the 95. And the second I got the 95, I listed the 91 on Marketplace. And then the same thing with the diesel one. I kept the 95 until I rebuilt the motor on it. And then once the motor was rebuilt, which was probably 6 months after I bought it, just because I was in the Navy at the time. So I went on deployment and I went out. So I pretty much bought the car, trailered it to just a lot at my buddy's house, and then left it there. And then when I came back, I trailered the car to Montana and did the full motor rebuild and stuff on it. So
Yeah.
I never really I had two at one time, but I tried to only keep one just because I didn't have very much parking space. It was street parking at the time. So,
so do you still have the 37s and lift kit on it, or did you do something?
Yeah. So on the first Land Cruiser, that was the first chunk of money I spent. It was completely stock, and I wanted to do something where it was a little more capable. So I bought 37-inch tires and the rims that came with it, and then a 4-inch lift for it. And that is the same. That's the same lift that I've had on all three. I've swapped it from the first Land Cruiser to the second Land Cruiser to now the third Land Cruiser. I've all the components to it and everything. And it's kind of interesting, actually. The first set of rims and tires that I bought from Discount Tire, they mounted them on there, and the first Land Cruiser had spacers. It was about an inch spacer on the hub. Yeah. So it was enough to where, to the technician, it looked normal. So they would thread the studs on. And it's still amazing to me how it happened, but they threaded it on, and the center of the rim didn't fit over the axle part. So it was just riding on the studs. There was probably this much gap between the actual rotor, or like the hub mount, and the actual where the rim was sitting. So another one, when I put the wheels and tires on, I went on another deployment. So probably 7 months to a year later, I come back and I do a trip out to Montana to see my parents. And then on the way back, the back left tire falls off.
Oh no.
Because that rim was riding on the studs the whole time. So we're driving, and it's me and my buddy. It's not my wife this time. And so we're just driving, and we just swapped. He just took over, and he's like, "This thing feels kind of funny." I'm like, "It's an old car. Just keep driving it. Like it does that." And next thing you know, probably not even 5 minutes later, the wheel falls off, and you just see the tire go right by you, and you're like, "Well, all right, there was something wrong there." So, but Discount Tire ended up comping me a set of wheels. So they let me keep the old ones, and then they gave me a set of Nomads, which I have now. And those are the ones I've been running ever since. So,
yeah. So how much does that Overland setup weigh on top of the 80? Because you have a rooftop tent and tow and gear up there. How much extra weight does that add?
I'm not positive, but I did pick a tent that is lighter than most. It's lighter and slimmer than most. So I'd say with the tent and the rack on there, you're probably close to what most tents weigh. And then you put the boxes on top, which they're like, they're Rome 95-liter storage boxes.
Yeah.
You're getting some pretty good weight. I mean, I don't know if it's rated for it or whatever, but I've done some pretty heavy wheeling with that stuff up there, and it's done pretty good. The roof rack, it's a Prinsu roof rack, and I'm kind of debating on changing it out just because the way the mounts are and stuff, it's not the best, and it's kind of sliding forward. Because I mean, if you look at our Instagram, you see some pretty heavy mud holes and some rock crawling that we've done to where it throws it around. So, I mean, I don't know if all of them are going to move around like that, but I might have to find out and get a different one. So it's definitely probably close to 1,000 pounds, though.
Yeah. When you're And so you do rock crawling in that. Do you feel the weight difference up there?
Yeah, so I didn't have a rooftop tent on it for quite a while. Not this one, but my other ones for quite a while. And then once I put that up there, I was like, all right, this thing, when you're driving, it definitely sways a bit more on turns. And I think it definitely limits your off-roading ability
Yeah.
just because I haven't tipped it yet or nothing. I haven't gotten to see how close it is tipping, but there's definitely been some points where you're sitting in and it feels like it's going to tip. So it definitely limits its capability, but for what it offers, I think it's worth it in our situation.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and kind of interesting. One of the pictures that you sent me was uh, your back tires completely buried in a mud pit. And
Yeah.
so, what's the story behind that mud pit? I mean, how did you get in there, and how did you get out? Did you have to have somebody winch you out, or is the lockers, or?
So, I guess a little backstory behind it is we're traveling the country right now currently. So we're going to 49 states in about a year and a half. And we're probably 6 to 7 months into that journey right now. We left in December, which is, I mean, it's now almost August, but
Yeah.
so yeah, we're doing every state in the continental U.S. We can't drive to Hawaii. We might ship it there, but we'll see. And then, so we're doing that trip, and that was in Arkansas specifically. And there's another Land Cruiser guy, Texas Land Cruiser, that recommended a spot out in Arkansas for me to go check out. So we were driving through, and we planned to go to this spot. And he's like, "Well, there's a pretty good mud hole through there, and there's 3 routes. You know, there's the easy way, the hard way, and no way you're making through it." So there was a sign there that tells you which way, but it was kind of broken and it was kind of mixed up, and I didn't have phone service, so I couldn't really tell which one was which. So I took in the YouTube video, you see me taking probably a 10 or 12 foot long stick and I'm jabbing it in the mud to see how deep it is and how soft it is. And it had just rained quite a bit prior because, I mean, you're in probably early springtime in Arkansas, so you're going to get some rain. And so the whole thing is just like a pond covered over pretty much. And so I'm just like, all right, whatever. I mean, I've only gotten this thing stuck one other time, so we'll see what happens. And I basically drive it in, and the front sinks down, and it's just sinking. And I'm like, all right, I don't know if we're gonna make it through this. And I basically drive it in, and it didn't even go anywhere really. It was so much sludge and deep mud that it didn't do anything. So I have an 8K winch on the front. I'd like to get a 12, but I got an 8K only because it was free. It came with the car already, so I'm just gonna use it until it goes out, and then I'll get a 12K. But I hooked it up to a tree that was right in front of us pretty much and winched it out inch by inch. I've been stuck one other time in California where it took a brand new F-250, a Jeep Cherokee, and another F-250 in tandem to pull me out because we were sitting on the frame. The tires weren't even touching anything. That one was really bad. That took a couple hours to get out. But
so did you end up finding out which way you went? Easy, hard, or no way?
Yeah, I think we went the hard way.
Okay.
I actually think no way probably would have been best just because nobody has gone that way. So it probably wasn't as deep. Whereas this way, I think a lot of people have tried it and it's probably just super deep now. I mean, you're probably at least 3 feet of water before you hit any mud. And it just didn't go anywhere. So it took a bit of washing off in the water crossings to get the car clean again.
So what made you guys decide on the 49 states?
Well, so I was in the Navy for 6 years and we lived in Washington for the last 4 of those. And we were kind of thinking, okay, well, where are we going to live? Because my parents are in Montana and her parents are in California, but next year they're going to retire in Michigan, which is where they're originally from.
Yeah.
And I think we just wanted to see which state was the best for us to live in, really. So we're like, all right, well, what way could that, like, what's the best way for us to see all the states and kind of get an actual idea for what a state's like for things that we like to do, like camping and just stuff like that. So I figured what better time than right when I got back from the service and just go out and see what the United States has to offer. You know, we wanted to see where we want to live and make an educated decision on it instead of kind of
Yeah.
just going somewhere and being like, all right, we'll try here, you know.
Yeah. So how far are you into it? How many states have you visited?
I think we're just over 15. It's somewhere around there, maybe a little more.
Okay.
So we started in Montana, but we were in Montana for Thanksgiving, and then we had to go down to California to be at our parents for Christmas. So technically, we didn't start until we were in Arizona because they're pretty close to the border of California and Arizona by Lake Havasu.
Okay.
So we started at Arizona, and I think since then we've been to about 10 states, 10 to 15, and then yeah, we're gonna redo a couple. Like the trip down from Montana to California, we did Idaho and Utah. And Utah was fun. Did a lot of cool stuff out there like Zion and Bryce Canyon, but
Yeah.
we didn't get to go to Moab and stuff like that just because we had to make it down there in a week. And I mean, it sounds like a lot of time, but when you're looking at Utah, it's not a lot of time. So
Yeah. And I recently did the drive from Arizona to Idaho, and going up there I did it in 2 days, and coming back I did it in one. But we didn't stop for anything. I mean, we kind of stopped for fuel and food. I did make an overnight stop in Salt Lake to go to the Heritage Museum, but we didn't look at any of the national monuments along the way. And so it's like, yeah, if you're going for scenery, a week really isn't enough time to get down there
yeah,
and do what you need to do.
yeah. Arizona took us like 3 weeks to get through. It was lots to see.
Yeah, people think it's crazy that I've lived in Arizona now for 24 years, 23 years, and I've yet to see the Grand Canyon. And they're like, how do
That's
you live in
crazy.
Arizona and not see the Grand Canyon? I'm like, because I'm always just driving past it and I'm always on a time crunch. I
Yeah,
wanted to go a couple years ago to when my son was at a hockey camp, but it was like $70 and I didn't have the money, and I was just like, someday I'll go to the Grand Canyon, but just I think I just need to put it down and say, okay, I'm going to go to the Grand Canyon now. Maybe after
yeah.
I get a 4-speed in my Land Cruiser, I'll go drive this up to the Grand Canyon. It's hard because my 40 does not have AC, and like even just sitting
Yeah.
there right now, I'm like dying. But yeah, it'll be fun when I finally get it working correctly again.
Yeah.
So I recently saw this game on Instagram, Radio Chatter, and
Okay.
it's a standard deck of cards, but instead of having the regular numbers and whatever, it has questions on it. So I'm going to let you
Okay.
pick out any card. You just say whatever card you want, and that's going to be the next question that I ask you.
Okay.
So what card do you want?
Let's go with the 6 of Hearts.
All right. So how do you stay cool in the summer and warm in the winter?
Yeah, that was a big question for my wife when we were starting in Montana winters. So, cool in the summertime. I got very lucky, and the guy that owned this before me, there's a shop out in Washington called Torfab, and they're very familiar with these cruisers specifically. And
Yeah.
they redid the entire AC system and heating and all that stuff. So this guy put about 14 grand of work into the car right before the motor went out. So he was tired of the credit card debt. And basically, yeah, the AC system is great in this car, and I'm very thankful for that because my first one did not have that. It had no AC.
So the
And
one
then,
from Dubai did not have AC?
It had AC, but it didn't work. So, yeah. And it was just like a thing that I never got around to. I tried charging it and it didn't work. And I was like, all right, it's probably the compressor. But I didn't have that one for very long. I had my eyes set on a faster one pretty quick once I got the tires on it. So, yeah. And then also, I just manual swapped this Land Cruiser. So I noticed the automatics put out a lot more heat on the transmission tunnel. Like the 91, if you're sitting there, not even in the summertime, but if you're just driving it down highway speeds, like your legs will get really hot. Same thing with the 95, but more so in the summertime. That one was a little better, but this one, the manual transmission is just so different. Like you notice no heat whatsoever coming through, and it's so much better.
Yeah.
So, and then as far as wintertime goes, so we sleep in a rooftop tent almost on the daily when we're traveling. And we have like pretty low degree sleeping bags, and the tent itself is insulated pretty well. So, I mean, if it's hot out, you just open up the windows and you use one sleeping bag as a blanket between the two of us or whatever. And we have a lighter blanket too if it gets really hot. But, and then in the wintertime, we just close up that tent, bring the dog up there with us, and sleep in our sleeping bags. You have the mummy bags, so you have like this much viewing room when you're looking through it. And but they work, so it keeps us warm.
Yeah. Looking at my questions. What's on your playlist when you're driving around in your cruiser?
Yeah, we get quite a bit of drive time. We try and limit ourselves to 3 to 4 hours a day, which I'd say typically it probably gets to like 1 hour a day of driving. Really, we don't move too far on the daily, but it's been a lot of country because I started playing guitar on deployment, so it's easy to play, and it just ends up you listen to it a lot more when you try and learn how to play it, and then I don't know, you mix it up every now and then with some Suicide Boys or newer stuff, but I don't know. I'm only 24 and I'm finding myself listening to the classics as well, like hard rock and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you have a name for your cruiser?
Or? Not officially.
All right.
Not really.
It's kind of interesting because it's almost exactly 50% people that I talk to have a name for their cruiser, and those who do and those who don't. And those who don't, they're like, yeah, I like my cruiser, but why would I name it? And those who do are like, are you kidding me? I have to name it. It's as much as my family as my dog is, or whatever. And so you never know. I mean, and I appreciate both ones who have a name, and of my vehicles, the ones that my wife and I own, only the Land Cruiser has a name. The kids named it after a Disney movie. So what's been like one of your worst breakdowns that you've had in your cruiser, or any of your cruisers?
Yeah, so I've actually, one of the main reasons that I stick with Land Cruiser and Toyota in general is there has never been a scenario besides the wheel falling off, which is not the Toyota or like Land Cruiser's fault. That was it's just the tire shop's fault. But I'd say with the 91, the gas gauge didn't work. So a lot of times I ran out of gas because it also got terrible fuel mileage. It was probably like 8 miles or 7 to 8 miles per gallon.
Oh, that's
like it's really bad.
40 running is about 8 to 10 miles per gallon. I remember there was one time when I was driving it around every day, I noticed that I did my fuel economy, and I'm like, oh man, I'm getting 10 miles per gallon. My daughter's like, is that good or bad? I'm like, I usually get 8.
Yeah.
And on a 15-gallon tank, that's not a lot of driving. So it's like,
yeah. One of the main reasons I got the diesel was because, I mean, I was sitting at, like I said, probably 7 to 8 with the 91, and then I got to probably average like 12 to 13 and a half with the 95, and then I got the diesel. And especially now with the manual, I'm probably pushing 20 to 23 miles per gallon.
Nice.
I'm getting about 500 miles to a tank on this, or probably 400 miles to a tank on it right now. So,
and that's actually really impressive with all of the stuff that you have on the roof. And a couple of years, or just about a year and a half ago, we took my wife's Highlander to. We had to go to a hockey tournament for my son. He plays both roller and ice hockey, and well, my son and my daughter were both in this tournament. It was across the state, and then right after that, we were going to go to California and go on a cruise with my parents. But we put like a rooftop carrier on my wife's Highlander, and her Highlander usually gets about 22 to 25, depending, and it was dropped down to like 15 because that rooftop carrier was just like the giant height or sail just dragging it. But then on the way back, we didn't have as many. We dropped one of the kids that was on my son's team came out with us, and he went back with somebody else, and so we were one person down, and so we just put all of the gear inside, and we were able to get back up to 22 miles per gallon, which is good. But
nice.
Yeah, in my 40, I don't get anywhere near that.
Yeah, you can't look at the pump. You just pump it up, don't look at the number, and then you just walk away. You're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. So, what does your wife think about it? Your 80.
So initially, she didn't really
Go ahead.
No, sorry. Can you say that last part again?
She's living in it part time, so she must not hate it. So.
Yeah, we actually live in it full time. This is actually the first time. Yeah, this is the first time we've stopped and actually stayed in a place probably in the past 7 months. We were on the road pretty much 7 months straight, and then we're only here now because her parents are out here for 2 weeks, so we're just hanging out with them, and we don't get to see them too often. So, but she wasn't necessarily the most outdoorsy type when I met her, but as she kind of wanted to see the proof of concept, where I got the first Land Cruiser and she saw the rooftop tent. And we went through a lot of tents, a lot of roof racks, a lot of awnings. We went through a lot of stuff to kind of dial in where it sits now.
Yeah.
And I think over that process, I mean, she got to be a part of it as well and choose like what she wants and the type she likes. And I mean, eventually, it became her cruiser as well. And she, like I said, she had a big part in it. And then the camping aspect, she learned to love it. And especially in the full-time traveling now, like she wasn't sure about it at first, and then we started going on the trip, and probably a weekend she's like, all right, this is pretty cool. Like, you get to choose where you sleep, and you wake up and you see some crazy views sometimes, and it really is a good life.
Yeah. So what's been one of the most exciting things you've seen, or one of the most exciting places you've been in your Land Cruiser? Like when you wake up in the morning, you're less like, oh my goodness, this is why I did this.
Yeah, we still think Zion is the top of our list. No matter like anywhere we've gone, Zion just feels like another planet. And we were first coming through right at golden hour, so it was especially crazy. The colors were very vibrant. And then we stayed at the campground on the far end where it's just all around you, and that was really cool. Probably the best national park we've been to by far. But as far as camp spots, I think Washington State is very underrated for camping, especially like Olympic National Park. There's spots on the mountains where you're several thousand feet up and you're watching like giant ships come through and pass by Vancouver Island, and you get a great sunset and a great sunrise over there. There's not a lot of bugs like there is over on the Midwest or east side or south or whatever. I mean, I think Washington State is probably the best we've been to as far as camping goes so far, but Arizona's really good. That's probably our favorite state so far, just how diverse it is. They have really good mountains, and then we did the Apache Trail. in the cruiser, and it was just, it's such a good state. So it was a good time.
Yeah, it is good. And if you can ever come to Arizona during a monsoon season, it's our thunderstorms are second to none. They are really impressive. And we've actually been having a really good monsoon season this year. But yeah, if it's a crappy monsoon season and it's in the middle of the summer, it's just hot and muggy, and you're just like, oh, get this over with. But it's been all right. We've had a pretty good monsoon this year. So what's like one bucket list location that you want to go to in your cruiser?
Alaska. It's either Alaska or Australia. But we're going to Alaska. That's our last state. We don't want to spoil any of the other states too quick. So we figured we'd see all the 48, the lower 48, and then we'll probably do Alaska either summertime around this time next year or a little closer to September and October, because I heard the mosquitoes are a little better around the later part of the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no idea what to expect there. I mean, I see pictures all the time and it looks unreal, but I can't not imagine overlanding out there, and just, it seems like it's so remote and there's just so much to see that we'll probably be there for at least a month.
Yeah, I would I'd have to say that Alaska and Australia are both on my bucket list places. Alaska, I wouldn't need to be in my Land Cruiser. It would be nice to be in a Land Cruiser to do Alaska. But I think doing Australia in a cruiser is just, I mean, there's just something iconic about that. Where it's just the history of the cruiser is so embedded in Australia that it would just be fantastic. I still kind of would like to go buy a 40 series ute in Australia and just cruise around in Australia for a while and then ship it back. But
that would be cool.
I don't know. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but it doesn't hurt to dream.
Yeah, I thought about shipping mine out there to do the transmission for a while, because mine had like a A442F with the manual valve body and everything, so it's fully hydraulic, and you can get them out here, but the issue is you have to ship the transmission to Australia, and that takes like 5 to 6 weeks at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, the shops that I've been going through, they say it's been like 3 or 4 months and they still haven't gotten anything back. And by the time you're done with shipping and the cost of the rebuild, you might as well just put a manual in it anyways. So
yeah. So do you have like a dream build 80 series, or is the one that you have pretty much your dream?
I think pretty close to the list would be a 79 series with the same motor and trans setup. So, I mean, I have a 1HGT, which is like the earlier year diesels. And I mean, the FTs are cool. They put out a little more power, but they're a little bit harder to find parts for. And I don't know, like 1HGTs, they're in Japan, they're in Australia, like they're all over the place, and you can get parts for them pretty easily. I think an FTE would be cool, but I mean, it would kind of be a swap. So I think if I can get a 79 series with an FTE in it and then an H152 transmission, that would probably be the dream setup. But I mean, you're probably talking almost 50 to 70 grand by the time you're done with it. So
yeah, I mean, just about anything is possible with these Land Cruisers as long as your wallet's deep enough.
Yeah. I actually just made a post recently on my Instagram, and I'm probably, I mean, for sure, at least 55 grand into this one by now, but it's probably closer to 60, 65 now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, our cruisers, I get a lot of crap for my cruiser because it's not necessarily fast, it's not flashy, it's not the best vehicle around. and there's no technically modern amenities to them. Although you've added a lot of modern features to yours with the rooftop tent and other stuff. But why do you think we like them so much?
I don't know. Toyota in those early years were just so iconic. Like they were just built different back then. Like the motors were meant to last. The body, like when you close the door, it doesn't sound like you're closing a tin can, like on the newer ones or nothing like that. And I don't know, there's just something about maintaining an old car and keeping it in good condition that like being your pride and joy that. And they're just super capable, especially, I mean, pre-100 series, not that they're not capable, but I mean, the dual solid axles is pretty hard to come by nowadays. And I mean, sure, it's not the best on the highway, but I mean, name a better car for the price, especially that is that reliable, that capable, and looks good. I mean, there's not too many out there.
Yeah. It's kind
Especially
of
the FJ40s, like they're
Go ahead.
especially the FJ40s. I mean, that's what my dad would tell me all the time. He had one, and that was, I think, one of his first cars. And he said that thing would go forever. Never broke down. It was always a reliable one. I mean, sure, they're not the fastest cars, but they weren't meant to be fast. If you want a fast car, don't get a Land Cruiser.
Yeah. You know, when you said new car sounding like a tin can when you shut the door, I had a guy who he does a lot of classic vehicle restorations. He's got an old Charger. He's got probably 4 or 5 really nice classic vehicles that he's restored. And he's always winning car shows with them. And he was looking at mine, and I've got these big, heavy doors on my 40, and he was trying to shut it, and he was being all like tender about it. I'm like, dude, you're not gonna hurt my car. You have to put some effort behind it to shut the door. You almost have to slam it. And he's like, oh, okay. And he shuts my door.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not gonna hurt my truck.
Yeah. Yeah, it ain't gonna happen. It'll be just fine.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm like sweating to death out here. This is a question that my daughter gave to me. She was doing a high school project, and she was trying to figure out, she had to do a report on communities and everything. But how has owning a Land Cruiser changed your life?
Definitely a lot more broke. That's for sure. Not that they're less reliable, but you can't stop spending money on them. You know, you always see something and you're like, all right, I want to get a new one of that, new one of that. And I think it's given me a stronger appreciation for cars. I mean, I've always liked cars and I've always worked on my own. Like I had a Mustang Mach 1 before this, and it's just always been my thing of fixing cars, but I never really came across one that I thought was worth keeping for the long term. And I think this one is, especially with the money we've got into it now, it's not going anywhere, but it's just a generational car. Like my dad talks about how much he wished he would have kept his FJ40 just because it's just a cool car. Like the wraparound windows on the back, they don't make stuff like that anymore. So it's just, I don't know, it gives you something to admire and enjoy at the same time. Because it's not like it's a 68 Charger where if you take it out and scratch it or whatever, you got to worry about it. Like this thing has tons of pinstripes down the side, and I'm not really worried about it. Like there's more out there, and if I want another one, I can get one. But it's just people enjoy them, and the community itself is so strong. Like the Facebook groups alone, you could post anything, and they'll just answer them, and it's like, how did you know that? But it's just because they've owned them and they've done all this stuff. And it's just a wealth of knowledge. So I mean, it's cool to be a part of that community, and
and you know, as you're saying that, to me these cruisers give kind of a certain level of freedom. I think a lot of times you kind of throw that word around and not really grasping what it is. But yeah, in your Land Cruiser, with the way it's set up for you and your wife, you can go at a moment's notice and get out into the woods, be out in the mountains, go down to the beach or whatever. And you can't do that with like the other classic cars, like the Chargers, the Camaros or whatever. It's like you want to go up into the mountains or go off grid. You can't do that in another car. It's like, well, what are we going to do about the car? In the Land Cruiser, it's like,
Yeah.
you know what? Let's have a change of scenery.
Yeah.
Let's get up and move, and it's great that way. So, so would you rather have like mountains or the beach?
I'm definitely a mountains person. I lived in Ventura, California for quite a while, to like elementary school, and I got my fill of beach. I mean, I think especially nowadays, they're just so packed all the time, and you can't.
Yeah,
It's a lot harder to camp and overland on a beach, which they are beautiful, but I've seen my fair share of beaches, and I'm going mountains all the way.
yeah. Every year we take a trip out to San Diego, because it's like 6 hours for us. And when my wife gets done teaching at her school, and she always loves to go out and get the beach time and the ocean time, and it's like, I don't mind going to the beach and the ocean, but I would take the mountains 100 times, 1,000 times over the beach. I would just much rather go to the mountains. But that's me personally, and I know a lot of people are like that. And I'm getting ready to go to Solid Axle Summit here in a couple weeks, and somebody the other day was like, "Oh man, you live." Somebody posted where he lived, and it was a picture of the beach, and somebody's like, "Oh, you truly live in paradise." I'm like, that statement is a little bit. It's not what. How did I phrase it? I'm like, it's subjective. Paradise is subjective. I mean, you know what? Give me a mountain and a running river. I'd take that all day, every day over beach.
Yeah.
And yeah. So like, what is your guys' favorite camp meal that you make when you're out in the 80?
So we do have a twin burner stove set up in the back. We use that nearly nightly, pretty much. I'm a big fan of salmon. I love fish. I think it's good for you. It tastes good. And it's just like a complete meal when you have fish, rice, and vegetables. It's really good to me. But my wife would probably say different. I think she probably likes, we do these carnitas tacos, like street tacos. And from Costco, you can get this like packaged carnitas meat. And so it's really easy and it's really good actually for what it is. And I don't know, tacos and just Mexican food. We have that a lot because it's pretty easy to cook when you're out camping as well. So
Just trying to. What's been like one of your fondest memories that you've had with your cruisers?
I think with this one specifically, it's just the learning curve that I've had to go through. Because I never rebuilt a motor when I bought this one, and I was very mechanically inclined. I rebuilt axles, like I've done all this stuff before, and I knew I could do it. It was just like, all right, what's this process going to be? And every time I did it, I had a narrow time frame because I was in the service and I only took like a week off or whatever. So
Yeah.
I pulled the motor in in one of my tenants' garage. Actually, I pulled it and then I ordered everything, had everything there, and I was like, all right, well, if I forgot something, the Land Cruiser has to stay in Montana, and I have to drive back to Washington. And so, yeah, I learned it was just the learning curve, and same thing with the transmission. Like these ones come with a H151, and I put a 152 in it, which actually makes zero difference for the swap. Didn't know that until I started researching it, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's a lot of learning, and
Yeah.
there's a lot that comes with these. You know, when you learn how to rebuild axles or when you do the brakes, and it's just a lot of good stuff that comes with these old Toyotas. So
Yeah. How long does it take you to make content for your YouTube channel?
So a video editing itself, it really does depend. For example, Arkansas, I mean, that video is over 30 minutes long. And
Yeah.
that one probably took close to 3 or 4 days to finish editing because I really do try and capture the audience's attention for as long as I can. And I try and leave the boring stuff out and more interesting stuff. But I mean, shorter videos that are around, 18 to 20 minutes. I mean, I can probably finish that in a 4-hour session if I
Yeah.
filmed it correctly. We're learning how to film properly to where you stop filming when it's not important and you don't use as many filler words. You try and talk and just say what you need to say, stop filming, and then move on from there. And we're kind of getting the camera angles down, and because I'm using a GoPro, a drone, a camera, and then we use our 2 phones sometimes for things. So it's a lot of footage to try and compile. And
Yeah.
then, for example, we're getting ready to post Kansas this coming Friday, and we're in Michigan right now. So we did Kansas all the way up to Montana, and then came across through Minnesota, Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota, and so we're quite a bit behind. But we post every 2 weeks. So
Okay.
I try and keep a good amount of bank going, so that way I can consistently post every 2 weeks. So that way it's reliable and people can know when it's going to come up instead of posting weekly, because some states, like I said, Arizona took 3 weeks. So then I wouldn't have a video for 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to build up a bank to where I can make it consistent and stuff like that. So
Yeah. For me, luckily editing isn't that bad. I do have to go through and listen to the whole podcast again, and I tune out my own voice and I pay attention to what my guests are saying. But a lot of
yeah,
times the AI software that I'm using or that comes with the recording, for some reason I'll say Land Cruiser and it comes up Lancer. I'm like, those don't even
yeah,
sound the same, and so I have to like go in and like fix the typos and everything. But for me, editing isn't that bad because I do one episode a week. Yeah, they're hour-long episodes, but it's like I'm not like splicing video in. It's just all the same.
yeah. I'm
But
basically reliving 2 weeks of my life through a computer when I do it. It's a lot of work.
yeah. So here is one of my most favorite questions because the diversity of the answers is so fantastic. But you could have any person riding shotgun with you, and it can be for any trail or whatever. Who would you have sitting shotgun with you, and where would you guys go?
I think it would be fun. I don't know if you've ever seen the YouTube channel 4 Wheel Drive 24/7.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's a guy, Shano, on there. I think
yeah,
he would be a blast to have in a Land Cruiser because, I mean, he has one as well. He has the same exact Land Cruiser I have. And I think doing that on his local tracks would be so fun because, I
he
mean, he just goes nuts on stuff like that. And yeah,
he has, I think, 3 or 4 cruisers that he's always taking out on a regular basis. He has the 80. He has the 40 Ute. He has a 60, and I think he has a 70. But
he's a 200 as well.
so yeah, he's a big Toyota guy, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
kind of plug this, but he's the keynote speaker for Cruiser Fest at the Cruiser Heritage Museum coming up in September.
Hmm.
I'm like, if I wasn't already doing Solid Axle Summit and going to SEMA with my son for his high school auto club, I would love to go to see him in person and hear
Yeah.
his stories. But yeah, if you can, for those listening, watching on YouTube, whatever, if you can, go to Cruiser Fest and see Shawano. Like a couple years ago, they had Ivan Stewart, who was the keynote speaker a couple years ago. He's a big Toyota guy. So yeah, if you can, go to the Land Cruiser Heritage Museum website, get your tickets to go to Cruiser Fest. I think that any year you wouldn't be disappointed, but this year especially with Shawano, I think you'd really enjoy it if you can make it. Yeah, and riding with him and through some of the trails and tracks that they have in Australia, that would be just so much fun. It kind of cracked me up when they came over. The whole crew for 4-wheel drive 24/7 came over and did the Rubicon Trail, and
Yes.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, it's like the quickest I've gone through, because a lot of the questions that I have written down, you've already like described them. So it's like, man, I had all these questions, you've already answered most of them. So, would there be any other cruisers that you would want to have? Like, what would be your Mount Rushmore of Land Cruisers?
I don't know. I think the 60 series is a little bit too old for me, and I think it's a boat. That's a big Land Cruiser. I think it'd be a little tight down the trails. I could see myself owning a 40, especially since my dad's looking at them now, so he may purchase one. I think so I'd keep my 80 for one. I haven't driven a 100 series or really been around them too much, so I don't know. I haven't been. I'm not really a fan of them that much. I'd say maybe a 200, just because we're looking for a family car now, and I think that car would be pretty cool. And you could do some light off-roading. It wouldn't necessarily be overlanding, but I mean, you could take it out as a weekender car or whatever. And
Yeah,
so probably an 80, a 200 series, and probably either a 76 or a 79, whatever I could get my hands on. I mean, it seems like a 79 nowadays, you got to build it pretty much. You buy the frame, you buy the body, and then you buy the motor, and you got to put it all together. Whereas a 76, I think now you're just able to start importing them. I mean, it's been 20 years, so.
Yeah. Well, do you have any final thoughts for us?
Not really. I mean, if you're interested in cruiser content and you're watching this podcast, check us out on Instagram at over.land.cruiser. Same thing on YouTube. Like I said, we post every 2 weeks. And yeah, it's been a great time.
Yeah. Well, Chad, thank you for coming on and talking more about your cruiser. I can talk about cruisers all the time, and yeah. I always love hearing the different stories that people have and the experiences that they're able to go through. So yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Land Cruisers is what brings us all together. It's a good passion to have, and the people around them are great as well. I haven't met a single bad person that owns a Land Cruiser.
Yeah. My dad is always like, you guys are a cult. You guys are, you're always so passionate about your Land Cruisers. And it's not just, he's like, yeah, you have a 40 series, but I've seen you get just as passionate about seeing a 60 series or a newer one or an older one or any of them. And I'm like, I just love these old Land Cruisers. I love all Land Cruisers. It's a sickness, I think, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, you just don't see them that much around anymore. Jeeps you see all over the place, but Land Cruisers you don't see them. So
I have been seeing an incredibly increasing amount of 100 series built up and ready to go. And I'm just like, the 100 series is like come out of nowhere to just be everywhere now. But
Yeah.
I'll still take my 40 series. I love my 40.
Yeah. I haven't owned one yet, so maybe I'll fall in love with it. But
all right, Chad. Well, it's good talking to you.
You as well, Dan. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. You too. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Classic Land Cruisers podcast. As always, remember to go to reefmonkey.com to get your Classic Land Cruiser podcast merch. Bring your adventure home with inlowgear.com, your source for custom Land Cruiser apparel and merchandise, where adventure becomes art, designed for the road. Again, this episode was brought to you in part by Redline Land Cruisers, Save Your F, by Manafree, your one-stop shop for Land Cruiser parts and service, by Valley Hidebirds and Terrain Tamer North America. As for me, the mountains are calling and I must go.